All righty, we're gonna wait just a couple more minutes, maybe one or two more minutes before jumping on and getting along with this. I think there's a couple people that are gonna jump on and join, but at least for now, we can just wait just a couple seconds. All right. I don't know why this doesn't like me. Boop, boop, boop. Nope, none of that. Oh, can't mess up the hair. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, let me turn this off real quick and we will get started. All right. So today I really just wanted to talk a lot about why it is important to have all of us on the same page as attorneys, if you work with attorneys in your state to do deals, lenders, title people, and many others. So I'm just going to break it down. It's going to be a couple minutes long, so just bear with me. But for a lot of the time and a lot of the whole processes and a lot of things of that nature, is very important because it streamlines the approach. Now, I'm not going to lie, I do have a little bit of a cheat sheet. So if I'm looking down in a way, is because I'm trying to stay on track and make sure that I'm not saying the wrong things from what I produced. So it streamlines the process and it makes everything just that much more fluid, that much more easy, and that much more enjoyable to purchase, sell, or do whatever else you want to do with your property. Because that goes along with the three C's. When you talk about streamlining, it bringing in the specialized people to do the specialized jobs is very vital. And it doesn't matter if you're in real estate or if you're in finance, bringing specialized people in is 100% one of the most basic things that you get when you go into a business school. The other aspect is that it prevents errors. It creates a bunch of confidence when you can when sorry, it eliminates errors or it's error prevention, and it creates confidence within your clients for when you're going through this whole transaction, this whole process. The reason being is because each party can have the times when they do have that miscommunication. And when you do have that miscommunication, misinformation, or anything like that, that will, not that it can, but that will cause delays. Whether it's getting a contract to the other side, whether it's closing the deal, whether it's finding the time for the inspections, or anything else under the sun that it pertains to the real estate world. So we all want our clients to feel confident, and by making them and helping them feel confident, it allows them to understand that you're there to truly help them. You're not there to upset them, hurt their feelings, screw them over, or anything else under the sun under that capacity or with those regards. Another thing that helps is that problem solving is a real thing within the real estate industry. There's a very plethora, or there's a numerous amount of um, ways that things can go wrong. And if you can problem solve quickly and adapt to that, and if you're able to bring in some people to say, hey, listen, I have this issue. I know that you're a lot more skilled, or you have a little bit more of the access, or you do this a lot more than what I do. Is there any way you could help me along with this? And that's really with what we're trying to do as a whole. As a whole, that's what we're trying to do. So the other thing is efficiency and closing. And this is probably the biggest thing of all what, 5 on this list. And the reason why is because we all want to close. I was doing a deal, and I'm not going to say what the party was, who the title was, who anything else was, but we were being prevented because the sellers of the new construction were saying that no one can close, even though we're all cash. No one can close until they get their financing right, which had nothing to do with us. And that's where a lot of problem solving comes into play. I told the agent, I told title, and everybody else that was in uh, the works within this specific property that we are going to close because to the contract states as long as it's mostly complete, we can close. We did our final walkthrough, our inspection, we did everything, they fixed everything, and we were still a month delayed because they didn't want anybody to close, but we were able to close before and we're able to get things done correctly. So efficiency in closing just isn't about making sure all the ducks are in a row. It's also about really making sure that your people that you have working for and with you, i.e., realtors, lenders, closing, whomever, has that knowledge that can give you that straight path to say, no, we're closing because we have fulfilled our duty to this contract. So there's things like that that get put into play. Now I'm going to break things down kind of section by section. So first we're going to go attorneys, then lenders, and then title company, and then other professionals. And so all of this is regarding as to why we all need to work together. So as we pertain to the legal aspect of things, and especially if you are in a state, because Colorado is not one of them, where you close with attorneys, is very vital. So the legal guidance and with the contracts to negotiate. 'Cause I know Chicago, you use attorneys to be that middleman to negotiate and everything. Navigating complex transactions and risk management. So again, this is for places that use attorneys to close and use attorneys within their contracts for real estate. So realtors often prepare contracts and negotiate the terms, but attorneys ensure the agreements are legally binding and they protect the client's interests. This goes back to one of my other videos that I just did, and that talks about how if you are closing and an attorney, because this happened to me as well, and the attorney and the seller say that we're not going to pay a commission, you signed a commission agreement or a working agreement, let's say, because that's exactly with what you sign when you have a plumber, HVAC, or anybody else come over to your house to do any kind of work. That's what it's talking about. So the legally binding aspect is that it makes sure that everyone is in agreement to what the contract is going to say going forward. And that's kind of hard in some states, and I understand that, but here in Colorado, we really do try to make things very clear, very concise, and very straight to the point. So with that being said, when I was in Chicago, I used one specific attorney. She was the absolute best attorney for closing and getting all these agreements and everything done and out of the way. I will always use her and always refer her because of who she is, what she represents, and how she was able to get things done. She negotiated all of the items on my behalf for my clients. She understood everything that we really needed, and she also understood what we wanted. And 9 times, even 9.5 times out of 10, we always got what we asked for. And that's because we were clear, we were concise, and we worked together. The other thing is navigating complex transactions. What this means is this is so if you've ever had a family member pass away, or if you've ever had any issues with title or things like that, typically title takes care of like cloud on title or things of that nature. But I can say that there are multiple scenarios and multiple times when you have trusts, estates, or just different unique zoning issues and regulations that attorneys will need to step in for. And that's one of the greatest things about attorneys because typically, if you're a real estate attorney or an estate attorney, like one of my good friends, Joe Elio, they know what's going on. They know exactly what to look for because that's exactly with what they do. My job is to make sure that we find you the house, we negotiate the terms, we get everything done. But if there's issues with parts of not our contract, but parts of the deal, say the land or anything like that, getting an attorney involved usually isn't necessary. But when it is, it's always the best route to go. I have several. Like I said, Joe is one of my friends, close friends, and I trust Joe 100%. Um, the last thing about attorneys is risk management. Now, I did have an issue once when I was in Chicago that my attorney helped out with. We thought it was going to be a bigger thing than it was. Thank God she was like, "No, you guys are fine. Like there's no reason that you guys will ever need to worry about this one small situation." So, risk management for attorneys is basically the attorney helping to identify the red flags as that could jeopardize a sale and help realtors potentially resolve those issues early. So we don't have to push out the closing date. Again, attorneys are a wonderful, wonderful amount of people, and they have a wonderful and plethora amount of knowledge. If you need an attorney, please reach out. I wholeheartedly believe in attorneys. I just don't think using an attorney for the whole transaction is always the best thing. I have a friend and a coworker slash client, sorry, slash partner down in Miami area, and he went through the same thing. You know, he had this deal ready, and it would have been done clear cut, 21 days closing, easy. They started listening to their friends and family, and they all said that they need to use this attorney. They then did not go through the transaction. The attorney held everything up for 45 more days, and the contract fell through because the attorney was not looking out and doing what he needed to do. And the family and friends pushed this client to miss out on a home that they really deeply needed and wanted. So they're good and great, but they can also be detrimental depending on the situation. But if you ever, ever, ever need an attorney to come in, look at a few different things, hire an attorney, make sure that they get everything done, but also understand that my job and a job for a realtor is to facilitate and to advise you on the contract, on the home, and the whole process that you will be going through on the journey to purchasing that home. Now, jumping up, I know that's been a little bit of time, but this is going to be a long, long video. The next one's going to be lenders. So you have pre-approval and financing solutions, and they come up with plenty of them. Trust me. Clear communication on loan status and creative loan options. So I absolutely love my lender. I have two lenders. I use one more so, but I just picked up another one, and I absolutely love him. Um, But the lender that I use, and he's truly fantastic. I was just talking to my business partner up here, John, and we were just discussing, hey, what's actually going on? Do you have a lender? Do you not have a lender? Do you have a lender that does unique lending? Because we're gonna need some of this stuff right now. So starting back again, when it comes to purchasing a house, before you talk to a realtor, or you can be talking to a realtor, but before you start looking at homes, you really, really need to get pre approved. If you're not pre approved, it's going to be very difficult for a realtor to look for a home for you because we don't know how much you can afford at this point. Say you can afford $1 million, but you start looking at homes that are, three, 400,000. It doesn't make any sense because we feel like you would want something that suits your lifestyle and everything else a little bit more. So getting that pre-approval is very vital. Or it could happen also the exact opposite way. You're looking at $1 million places where you can only afford 500,000. So getting that is very, very important. So what I wrote down actually was realtors rely on lenders to verify buyers' purchasing power, ensuring that homes are shown within a budget and closing days delays are minimized. Now, the next thing is clear communication on loan status. I've only heard stories. I haven't had clients that have had issues with their loan status or understanding what that's going to look like for them. but I do know realtors need timely updates on the loan process to manage deadlines, negotiate extensions, and avoid deal fallouts. This is probably the most important that I could ever imagine because I have gone through issues where it was the week of, and I chastised the lender and the realtor because they knew that we were closing and they did not even have a loan ready. My clients needed to sell the house, they needed to get out, and the lender did not do their job. It wasn't the lenders that I used because I was on the sell side, but that lender screwed up the whole transaction, had to push everything out even more, about 2 weeks to be honest, and it really, really put a damper in the relationship I would have had with that lender and put a little bit of a hit on my relationship with the other, agent, and I did not like that. Now, the other agent and I, were good, we're cool. I see him out, I always go up to him, he's a great person and just really a happy person, so it's always great to work with people like that in the industry. Last thing is creative loan options. Because, and what I put is realtors often guide clients toward lenders who can offer tailored financing solutions, helping clients afford homes that fit their needs, which is true. I mean, there's plenty of options that you have out there. I'm not a lender, but I know that there's ARMs and conventional, VA, FHA, and a whole bunch. But when you go into specific places and you, in your VA person, or if you need an FHA loan, you need to check with your lender to make sure 110% make sure that if you're doing a FHA, that they have the licensing and the certificate to offer an FHA in that place that you're trying to buy. Because if they don't, I'm sorry, you're going to be SOL. And that sucks because it might be the perfect place for you, and that also puts a little bit of a ugh on me as a realtor because I want you to be happy in that home. So going on even more, last two aspects, title companies and other professionals, but title companies, they are extremely important. If you don't understand why they're important, listen up. Title search and ownership verification, title insurance, coord- co- co- coordination, and the closing. There's a lot more, and I'll touch on them, but let's start with coordinating the closing. They facilitate every aspect of the closing deal. They do all the title work, which means if there's encumbrances, if there's encroachments, if there's any issues with title, or if there's cloud on title, they're the ones that can go in and say, there's cloud on here. We're going to need another 4 days a week, whatever it is, in order to clear title because we now have an issue. Title people are very important to your closing. Make sure that your realtor has a title person. I do. I love them. They're all fantastic with who I use and how we can close. So, starting with title search and ownership verification. Realtors depend on title companies to confirm a property's ownership and identify liens or encumbrances before closing, which is what I just got done saying. And that is a huge portion because if someone has a fence on your land and you're going to close, that needs to be fixed and that needs to be addressed before you close. Because if you close and it changes hands, it's going to be really hard to get them to move that fence. That's all I got to say. Title insurance. You definitely need title insurance. I mean, it ensures that buyers and sellers are protected from potential future disputes over ownership, over owning the home that you just spent a $500,000 to purchase. Uh, We need title insurance. We need people in title. They do the heavy, heavy lifting to make sure everything on the title and deed and your mortgage is all on par and it's set up correctly because then that gets transferred and sent to the city or the state in which you are purchasing the property. And if you don't have some of the stuff done, it's not going to be good. And if someone has ownership over you because they did not see the cloud on title, it's not going to be a good look for you. It's not going to be good for you either. Um, Coordinating closing, we already discussed that. So talking about other professionals, there's three or four. So let's go through them. There's inspectors, appraisers, contractors, and stagers. So inspectors are critical because you need an inspection. I don't care if you are selling your home, You need to do a pre-listing inspection. That way, if we do find issues, we can go ahead, solve the issues, get everything done, and we can then verify that this is exactly with what needed to happen. So, in terms of that, we need to make sure that when we do have inspectors, they're licensed, they are part of NACI or something that is truly a verifiable source so that we can understand, okay, they are truly a professional. They're just not somebody that's going in to say, hey, I can inspect your home for you. Because I've seen that happen and it did not go so well. So hiring a licensed inspector, they will ensure and they can also provide services such as uh, uh, sewage scopes and all of those aspects, as well as um, a lot of them know what boilers are. At least the ones I work with, they know what boilers are. So Lochinvar is a very famous one. They also do HVAC systems, but they're very well known and they're very reliable. Same with Carrier and many others. Um, the other thing is they can help you understand what repairs need to be done, whether there's water damage or anything else. So going on to the next one, appraisers. Now I was just on a live on TikTok, and I want to say there was like 375,000 people that were on this, and they were talking about um, appraisers. And someone said something about appraisers and how they did something and negative and everything else because they uh, were the ones that were raising the prices for everybody in terms of 2008, because that's what we were talking about, and that was what the whole TikTok live was about. So appraisers, what they do is they look at the area as a whole. They look at and say, hey, listen, right now, what I see in your home, this is what your home is worth compared to all these homes that have sold. So appraisers are very, very valuable. Appraisers are needed, and appraisers are there to really help you understand that your value of your home is at this price, at this point, but you're selling it at this point. And that's where we have that appraisal gap. And sometimes you need to have that appraisal gap, especially if you're going to disagree on appraisal inspection, or if you think that the appraisal is going to come in lower than what you or higher than what you guys are offering. So beyond that, it creates confidence with the client, but it also creates confidence within the community that is at large. The other thing is stagers. Now, I disagree a lot with people, especially about staging. And there's one agent that I was talking to over the weekend, and they kind of agree with me. I don't stage every home. It's not always necessary to stage. Does it look nice? Yeah, great. But if your home can speak for itself and your home can display the areas that are common for themselves, do that. Now, I can tell you right now, if you have a bedroom that's 10 by 10 or 10 by 12, a king or a queen bed can fit in there. Now, it just depends on how much room you want to have to depend on what size bed that you get. But at the same time, please understand that appraisers are not cheap. Uh, it's, I would say, roughly $3,000 for the first month. Um, and that's for a standard home with the whole place being staged or most of the place being staged. The other thing is, if you have pets or animals, stagers typically do not want to stage anything in that home because of the pet or animal. Um, I don't mind stagers, but I do not, and I'm going to reiterate it every time. I do not believe it's important to stage every single home. I think it's a waste of money a lot of the time, and I think that the money can be spent better elsewhere. The last thing is contractors. Um, when you have contractors, whether it's paint or sewage or whatever you might need, please reach out to your agent, because we have typically, at least the ones that have been doing this for some time, we have a vendor list per se that will align with what you guys are looking for. And I have sections and at least 5 people in every section. And the reason why is because no one knows what might come up, especially if you're on the listing side and you're trying to sell your house. You're definitely going to need some contractors, especially if you're looking to sell quick. And if the inspection comes back and they say, hey, listen, we have this, this, and this that needs to be done. And this is the only way that we're going to be able to have an agreement. Well, I personally, I would say, hey, how important is this to you as your realtor? And also, how important is it to close, when we say? And if it's that important, let's get these contractors in. Let's make sure that everything works. But through every one of these stages, it is vital that your realtor and everybody else works really well together, because we all have this common goal and we all have with what we're looking for. And that is to make sure our clients are very pleased and happy with the work and the effort that we've put in. So I know that it's been a long time. I know that we've been on for, 26 minutes, but I hope you guys have a great day. Stay tuned. There's going to be a lot more coming in the weeks. And please remember that every Monday morning, instead of 8 a.m., I've changed Nick's Brews and News to 9 a.m. And the reason why is because I think a lot more people can really see it. And it's a little bit easier to jump on at that time versus trying to jump on uh, earlier in the morning when people are either driving to work or just getting into the office. So I hope you guys have a great time. Stay safe and happy December, happy holidays, and we'll talk soon. Cheers.